Right, welcome ladies and gents. Snyder cut version of Rebel Moon. Not doing well. Not doing well. It's not like a massive surprise, to be honest. It's doing better than the previous versions, but the reason why it's doing better than the previous versions is because the amount of people that watch them is less, and they're the sort of hardcore fans, so they appreciate it more, I guess. Because obviously they're primed to appreciate it, they would. So I thought we'd take a look at this, because it's just interesting. I do think, like, I think it's kind of, I don't know, it's one of those things, how do you justify keep doing Snyder cuts of things? Because you'd have thought with Netflix the initial version would be the version. You're not stuck by theatrical releases and the runtime parameters and things like that. So I was a bit surprised to hear he was going to do Snyder cut versions of Rebel Moon. Like, why? And I think that is, I think it is to cash in on the Snyder cut and that sort of vibe. But I think it was misplaced. So let's take a look. Anyway, hit subscribe if you're newer, guys. Turn the bell notifications on. So Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon director cuts are currently bombing big time with critics and fans. Although again, they are better. They're better than the previous ones. With fans anyway. So the Rotten Tomato scores are in. They're not good. The two-part director's cut is how Zack originally intended his Rebel Moon movies to be. Again, just why didn't they just do it? I don't understand Netflix not giving him what he wanted it to be initially if they were going to do it anyway. It's not theatrical. Unless, of course, and this is the other thing, is because Netflix is trying to do theatrical things now, it's potentially, you know, maybe it was the plan that Netflix was going to release it in theatres. Anyway, the franchise might be dead on arrival. I mean, we won't know that really until they either do or don't greenlight further ones. From what I've also seen, this person who wrote this article, there hasn't been much talk about the director's cuts. They have been on Twitter, but Snyder fans are very vocal on Twitter, so that's not a surprise. So apparently they've not even been trending on Netflix, and Netflix hasn't promoted them either. Which is like, what? Why are you not promoting them? You know, they've barely done any promotional material for it. So it says this, they also happen to be recommended to me by Netflix way down the queue, as opposed to how Netflix started everyone's Netflix landing page with the first Rebel Moon, which is true. So, the Rebel Moon Part 1 Director's Cut, Rotten Tomatoes is 25%, audience score is 66%. So that is higher than the first one. The 66% is higher than the first one. Part 2 is 65, so it's 66 and 65. More people have watched the first one, or at least reviewed it anyway. Less people have watched the second one. But, yeah, I think, well, yeah, even less critics have watched the second one as well. So here's the comparison. 56% for the first one. Child of Fire. The Scar Giver. Ugh. I really do think those names are lame for films. 48%. 56% again compared to 66 and sorry 65 and 66. So I mean, it makes sense because again less people have watched them, because if you're looking at how many people have reviewed these, I mean 10,000 plus, Jesus. And then this, I think this is quite telling, just as an FYI, only 1,000 plus people reviewed the second one. I think that is, I mean, it is telling. Of course it's telling. Because it shows most people watched the first one and was like, ugh, fuck this. And then some people watched the second one and just reviewed it negatively as well. I don't know. It's what do you expect? What do you expect? I just don't understand what can be garnered by, yeah, just more material for those films. Because there was a lot of it was just wandering around and exposition. There was a lot of exposition in all of those films. Like, I don't want to watch even more exposition. And he's added like an hour to each movie, hasn't he? And that is... What are you doing? Staggeringly insane. So, yeah, it's not doing too well for old Zack Snyder boy here. And Netflix, I mean, if we're looking at his other movies, just as an FYI, so... Army of the Dead is up there, and that was a Netflix one. People liked that. So I think Netflix would have been happy with Army of the Dead. Because again, Netflix did bankroll that. And they've kind of given him a home. Right, Zack Snyder, as he left Warner Brothers and DC, Netflix snapped him up. And I think they thought they were, arguably, I think a lot of people thought that was going to be a good partnership. Mainly because, and this is the real comical part of all of this, I think people thought it was going to be a good partnership because it was streaming, and he wasn't going to be strong-armed into editing down his movies. And yet he still edited down his movies and then still gave us a director's cut. I just don't understand it. But then he also started saying in interviews how, the Snyder Cut thing. I think he inevitably and obviously plays up that whole Snyder Cut business. As opposed to being like, yeah, this is just my version. Because Netflix notoriously have bad editors as well. They don't chop up their films. So this was clearly planned and it's backfired massively. Absolutely massively backfired. Yeah, garbage. So, yeah, what do you say to that, really? Absolute garbage. And if I search for Rebel Moon over on Twitter, there's not that much chatter about it, to be fair. Not that much. Like, yeah. My goodness, this Rebel Moon moved is so foolish. Everything is in slow motion. I didn't plan that, it's just there. Yeah. I feel I should get a I Survive Zack Snyder's Star Wars t-shirt after finished both director's cuts of Rebel Moon. Jesus, do you hate yourself? Yeah. The chatter's there's not a lot of chatter. A lot of people like it, obviously. He has a hardcore, dedicated fan base. They're just not the majority of people, unfortunately. For him and for them. So there you go. I don't have anything else to say, really. Rebel Moon has bombed again. But done better. What do you guys think? Did you subject yourself to the director's cuts? Let me know down below. Take care. Bye-bye now.